mindset coming in that you're playing for something, and this was a big game as far as getting that play in?
Absolutely. We want to get in bad. I'm here to say it. We want to get in. The players really want to get in. We're going to come out and try to approach it that way.
All right, that's DeJounte Murray saying it. Can we just get on board here? Can we all just go team playing here? Let's just go team playing, everybody. Why not? Okay, I get why not. You have reasons too, and I have reasons, but DJ has reasons, and so does Lonnie, who also said the team really wants to make the play in and can benefit from doing so. But anyway, that was last week. No more talking about it. The Spurs are obviously going for the play-in. Maybe tanking would be nice in some ways, but it's not happening. So let's just talk about what is happening. And that's the Spurs kicking some booty. 3-0 last week. 3 games, 3 wins, right into being 1 game out of the 10th seed. Lakers lost another game, falling apart. AD is supposed to be coming back now, though, so look out for that. But LeBron's ankle feels, quote, horrible after that 23-point blown lead loss to the Pelicans, the team that they're kind of contending with for the 9th spot right now, with the Spurs looming in the 11th. Not a good look, but maybe AD can save them. But is AD going to save them when LeBron's out or damaged goods? I think they're going to lose a lot of games, guys. I think the Spurs are going to make this thing. Spurs have some easy games this week. Very easy games this week. I know the Spurs' last 4 or 5 games of the year aren't as easy. This week is another easy week, and the Spurs are they're gonna make some moves. They're gonna move up in the standings. But before we talk about this week, let's talk about that Pelicans game. What a game! Okay, I'm doing it. I'm going back into the tank discussion. Games like this Pelicans game that we saw on Saturday don't occur in a tank, and I feel like these wins are so important for a team's growth. Soapbox, I know, whatever. They played some of the most locked-in defense I've seen this young group play all this year, all last year, ever since they've been in the rotation. These guys locked it in, especially in the clutch. And young guys, Josh Primo playing some solid Dion McCollum. The game started out, I was pretty worried in the first quarter. The Spurs looked like, they were giving up some offensive boards, just some weird stuff that kind of reminded me of the last week's Pelicans game, which was awful. Not to that level, but just lapses, kind of like that. Then they picked things up, got them going. Someone who really stabilized the team in this game and really just played solidly was Keldon Johnson this entire game. They messed his rotation up a little bit because of all the injuries. No Vassell, no Lonnie, obviously no McDermott, who's out for season. And so they staggered Keldon, DeJounte, Yak a lot. So they pulled Keldon out like 4 minutes into the game so he could play with the bench unit. And it seemed like every time things were going downhill, Keldon had a timely putback, a tough drive, a shot. He was just so solid. And he's been that way for the last few weeks now. I mean, Keldon's been really solid since the Derek White trade. And he's not doing it with crazy lines, not triple doubles like DeJounte. He does one thing really almost great right now in that shoot. But besides that, he doesn't have anything that's like sticks out like crazy good. He's a hustler. He gets putbacks. He drives tough. But it's just consistent play now is what he's doing right now. And it's not numbers, like I said. It's not that. It's not stat sheet stuff. It's shooting, but it's just solid play. It just feels like we're getting consistent play from Keldon, and that's saying a lot for a young guy who was very inconsistent the first half of this year. So very happy to see that. But the second half, very close game. Very highly contested game, especially the last 10 minutes or so, last 5 minutes. Spurs went off to a 10-point lead thanks to them rolling out the rarely used lineup, or the rarely used combo of Jock Lawndale and another big, whether it be Zach Collins or Pirtle. And Jock looked great. He looked great in that 4 spot, stretching the floor, going down low when need be. He was hitting. He was getting putbacks. He was there getting rebounds. He did a lot from that 4 spot, and I hope to see more of it. But the Spurs went off to a 10-point lead there in the last few minutes of the game, only to see it dwindle at the hands of McCollum and Jose Alvarado, who I didn't realize is a future MVP, because he looks freaking ridiculously good. He looks so good out there. He's a pest on defense. He's solid on offense. He hits his floaters. He hits his shots. He had a game winner against Chicago, like the game or two before they played the Spurs, and he's just like, it seems like he's in every play. I'm obviously very impressed with this guy, and he's one of those guys that I could see being a killer in future playoff series. But the Spurs D'd up. The Spurs lost the lead. It went down to like a 2-point lead with a couple minutes left, or like a minute left. And extremely clutch defense by Keldon, Yak, the whole team, but I'm singling out a couple guys, and Primo. Primo with just some solid, never say die defense against McCollum. One of those last drives of the game, McCollum kind of beats him off the dribble, gets past him, but Primo does a really good job of recovering and getting his hips back into play. He like gets beat almost with an initial move, and then Primo recovers, and then he hits him with a drive left, and Primo tips the ball out of his hand. It's like he got beat kind of twice, but he stays in the play enough to obviously affect it with a tip. We saw a solid defense from Primo all night. Last possession of the game, where McCollum's dribbling it up, Keldon's guarding him, they set a screen, Jakob comes off, doesn't stay with the roller. They communicate, apparently, or I don't know if they communicated in the timeout before, but they double McCollum at the top of the key with like 10 seconds left. And it's like a perfect move because you cannot let McCollum beat you. He's by far their best player, obviously one of the best scorers in the league at his position. And they did not let him beat them. They doubled. He was forced to give the ball away, forced a desperation shot by Alvarado, missed it, game over. But to be able to have the wherewithal to call that double team out, it just shows how this team's come a long way, right? I mean, these are two projects that the Spurs have been working on a few years now in Keldon and Yak, and obviously Primo's a project now. And it just seemed like they all came up huge in the winning moments of this game, and this whole game, defensively especially. So it's really cool to see the growth, and it's just really cool to see them get action like this game that you don't get if you're tanking. I mean, yeah, you can get other things if you're tanking, but you don't get this if you're tanking. You don't get games like this. You don't get that drive that they're having right now, that drive forward. But huge win. DeJounte triple-doubled again. Josh Richardson looks more and more like he could belong, but he has a great contract, so you're flexible with him. He's like golden ticket, golden goose. It's like you keep him, you're happy. Or he's a very tradable asset. It's like Spurs hit the jackpot with that Derek White trade, because we're not really feeling a drop-off with this Derek White trade. Sure, maybe Derek's the better guy long-term. Maybe not even long-term, because they're the same age. Maybe Derek's a little bit better. But this guy's on a better contract, not as redundant as Derek starting next to DeJounte, 2 point guards, 2 ball-dominant guys. Because Josh can be as good as he is on ball, off ball. I mean, he's truly a combo. Because, you know, we've seen his shooting. He's like 50% shooting with the Spurs so far from 3. So he's clearly a great off-ball guy. Derek really wasn't that. We know that wasn't Derek's strong suit. Better defender, but not that much better. Really happy with Richardson. That jock at the 3 thing could be something we see more of in the future. He just brings a lot more to the table than Chieta does, in my opinion. I think a lot of you would agree, because the ability to space the floor at an elite level is just such a sought-after attribute in the NBA. Just opens up the offense. But that was a giant win. Biggest game of the year. No question. Spurs got it done. What else happened earlier in the week? I already forgot. Oh, that's right. A date with Drew up in Portland. Drew Eubanks, leader of the Portland Trailblazers, wasn't enough to beat the Spurs. Spurs got a good rhythm win on Wednesday. It was just really fun to watch them set a franchise record for three-pointers in a half, maybe a game. I don't remember. I think it was either tied or set the most in a game. But it was definitely the most in a half with 13. And yeah, the Spurs just went off, and, you know, it's against subpar opponents, sure. But when you don't screw the pooch, you don't mess up, you go out there and you execute as best as you possibly can, even if the odds are so much in your favor, that's rhythm, that's carryover, that's confidence. Great to see it. And then obviously I already talked about the Sunday game, that last second tip by Keldon to win it against a broken Golden State, but still a good win. Moving on to this week, tonight, I'm recording this Monday. Y'all have already seen this game by now. Rockets in Houston. Spurs should take care of business. Vassell's back tonight. Lonnie's out. Although Lonnie got a questionable tag before he was declared out, which means to me that he's getting closer, so that's good. Need Lonnie to pace the bench. But they don't have Christian Wood tonight or Eric Gordon. They're super young. They're going to be pretty small. We're going to see a lot of Alperen Şengün. Hopefully the Spurs win it. Y'all have already seen it by now. I'm sure the Spurs have won it. And they are sitting in the 10th seed because they're a game behind the Lakers, and with a win, they're tied, and they have the tiebreaker. So Monday night, 10th seed. Wednesday's a big one. I'll be at this game. Memphis at home. And no Ja Morant, right? No problem. It's all good. I think they're 15-2 without him, or 16-2. It's one of the two. That's insane. One of the best players in the league. I mean, talk about destroying an MVP argument for a player. I'm kidding, but it's just kind of funny how it worked out that way. They're so good without him. They just have so many weapons on that team. Desmond Bane's like he's a star growing right now. DeAnthony Melton is this a good comp? They're Derek White, kinda. Just a gritty, good player at the guard. Jaren Jackson Jr. is like an all-defensive player type. Steven Adams provides them with their veteran leadership. Anchor kind of guy. Leader for Jaren Jackson to follow. They got the most annoying player in the league. Dylan Brooks. No one likes that guy. So it makes it worse when you lose to them because they have him. Anyway, that's a huge game. They're 16-2 without Ja. Ja's not going to play. Ja's out the whole week, probably. I'd be shocked if he played. It's going to be a fun game. I wouldn't bet on the Spurs, but if they go in having won 4 in a row and they have a good night Monday, go in healthy, maybe get some rest Monday. I'm probably, beggars can't be choosers. Who knows what can happen, as I always say. But it's a tough game. Then they have to take care of business on a Friday-Saturday matchup with Portland twice. Those are gimmies. You can't lose them. I think they're even more injured than the last time the Spurs played them. Could be wrong, but yeah, you have to Google all their player names besides Drew Eubanks because I don't know him. But, Spurs could go 3-1 this week and be securely in the play-in. Because let's see who the Lakers play. The Lakers have a tough schedule to close the year out. They've been dropping games. They just lost, like I said, a 23-point lead against the Pelicans. They're not good. Dallas, Utah, New Orleans again, Denver, Phoenix. Yeah, so Spurs go 3-1 this week, hopefully. They lose to Dallas and Utah, I'm sure. Utah's not been great, but it's at home. Utah's not been great for their standards, is what I'm saying. But compared to LA, they should handle them. Dallas is a game. LeBron is doubtful at Dallas. AD is also doubtful, which in his case is a positive. But I don't think either play, and that Dallas game is a sure loss. Utah, probable loss. New Orleans, maybe not a loss. But then they're 1-2 so far. Spurs could go 3-1, and LA could go 1-3 this week. And then the Spurs do close with a tougher schedule, but so do they. So we could be looking at securely sitting in the play-in by the end of this week. It's a fun time. If your team tank, I get it. You have a great argument. I'm not saying that there's like a landslide either way, but I'm sure you're still having fun with what you're seeing out there. These guys are developing. Keldon and Primo, well, Keldon especially is turning a corner. Primo is starting to look like he's gaining some comfort. He doesn't look as... He started the year like kind of like shot out of a cannon. He was hitting his shots. He was just flowing. And then I think, it catches up with him. You think about it a little bit more. You have a bad game and people kind of figure you out a little bit. But I'm happy with what I'm seeing from him. Makes great passes. He's in the game. He's never down. I think most of the team is like that. I used to get on Jakob, or I would complain about Jakob getting down on himself and putting his head down and clapping, getting frustrated. He hasn't done that this year, but I haven't seen that from other guys this year. DeJounte is still doing his thing, triple-double last game. He's going to be a stabilizer on the team, and it looks like Keldon's that kind of guy too now. So it's going to be a fun end to the year. Enjoy it. The Spurs are in contention for some postseason action, like the good old days, but not really, but kind of. Just have fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. This is Spurs Weekly Update. I'm Drew. Every Monday, Sunday, maybe Tuesday. Look out for these videos. We'll talk about what happened last week. We'll talk about what's happening this week. And we'll just be fans. Go Spurs, go.